All right, sir. I'm just waiting on a notification. Okay. Okay, perfect. And we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a very special edition of Off the Record on the People's Podcast this Sunday afternoon. We have a great guest with us, one who I'm very humbled and honored to have join the People's Podcast, Master Shaheed. First of all, assalamu alaikum, sir.
Alaikum salam, sir.
Yes, sir. I want to say,
go ahead.
It's an honor to have you with us, sir.
Pleasure is all mine, beloved.
Yes, sir. Well, the first thing that I would like to know is
But first, I like to give the salutation.
Yes, sir.
In the beneficent, most merciful God, who indeed come in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, for whom all holy praises and thanks forever due, whom we can never thank him enough for divinely preparing one from among us, a divine leader, divine guide, and Christ to us all, the divine messenger of Allah, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and whom we can never thank him enough. If we said 1,000 prayers a day for 1,000,000 years, we never ever could thank him enough for divinely birthing one from his divine spiritual loins. I speak of none other than our leader, teacher, and guide, and divine warner to all nations, none other than the most honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I greet you, my beloved brother, to all the friends and guests and listeners in the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Walaikum salam, sir. Beautiful. Okay, yes, sir. Well, the first thing we would like to know is what was it like being around your sister, the late great Olympian, affectionately known as Flojo?
Wow, what was it like being around her? Number one, she was a very competitive person. She was one that was different. She was very eclectic. She used to ride her bike on a unicycle to school and watch. That was strange. She, was different. She was always doing something different, and she always felt that she could excel in whatever she did. Matter of fact, by me being a martial artist, I used to tell her she could never hit me. We had a game, was that she would try to slap me, and she could hit me without me getting hit. I would give her $1. Well, she may have gotten $1 once, and then yes, or twice. And when she was a child at 12, when it stopped raining in the streets of Watts, of course, I grew up mostly on the East Coast, but I was bi-coastal quite a bit back and forth. My mother moved to LA when I was a year old. And so she was born when I wasn't there. But when I moved there in 1971, and she was the age of, I think, 11, that's when I started training her in the martial arts. And again, back when at that age of 12 and 11 and 12, it was 11 of us, and I'm the oldest. And was 10 years younger than I am. I was born in 1949, and she was born in 1959. However, when it stopped raining and the steam would come about the streets in Watts, many of our family members, we would get out and we would race. And I would tell all my brothers, I would always win it. I would tell her, girl, you'll never outbeat me as long as you live. In 1989, we were in Tokyo, the Tokyo Dome, and she said, remember when you said that, we took our shoes off and raced? I said, yeah. Well, I have it on video. We raced to the theory and the theme that she could never beat me. Well, you know who won. I have that. So again, we never underestimate the power of a woman, and I thought I was pretty fast, but hey, well, we know the story of that. I like to say something to that effect. What she wrote to me here, and she signed this and stated, said, to my brother Bobby, which was the name that I used to go by, it said, thanks for the 100% support and encouragement you have given me all of my life. You've been a great inspiration toward my career, and I always remember the strength and confidence I've learned from you. God has truly blessed me to have such a special brother who has given the world so many positive avenues in which success is made. Thank you, your sister Flojo, which her name we call Flojo was a theatrical or stage name given to her. her name growing up was Dee Dee because her middle name was Dolores. So we all knew her as Dee Dee. FloJo came out after her Olympic trials and winnings, of course.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yes, sir. That's amazing. And that's just amazing and good, that you had such as my family, my mother, my father, and my grandmother always talked about your sister. So that's beautiful. When did you first hear the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
I first heard the teachers 10 years after our beloved leader, Minister Farrakhan, heard. He heard in 55, and I heard in 1965. My uncle came home from Johnson C. Smith University, and we were in the yard with my grandfather, and he came and played the cassette of Malcolm X. And we sat there, we listened, and man, it struck a chord with me. At that point, when I heard that, listened to that, and my grandfather said, boy, if I was younger, I would follow that man, And that even turned the leaf, a chapter in my life, and spurred me on even more. And that's when I got ignited in 1965. And matter of fact, later on, it inspired me so much until my grandfather was a Boy Scout master for an older Boy Scout troop 101 here. And I was scheduled to become the Eagle Scout. So I would lead the Boy Scout troops. I was the leader. When he wasn't there, I attended every meeting. I did not go to get my Eagle Scout award at that church because of what Malcolm said. And we don't have our own flag. He said, but then he said, we do have a flag, but, we under another flag. And that bothered me. I said, I'm not going to go get this award under another flag until we get our flag. And that really affected my life. That teachings in 1965, when Malcolm made that tape that my uncle brought home and I listened to. So that's in 1965 when I first heard the teachings, which highly affected my life. Yes, sir.
Beautiful, sir. And when did you accept the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
Well, I accepted it. I received my letter from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in 1972. However, I was in school in the University of Ife in Nigeria. I was there for several months, almost a year. And matter of fact, right before going in 1970, a minister came to my school, the University of Pittsburgh, in which I was a jock. I played football and baseball at the university there. And I was also in the Black History Studies department as a student, that is. And the minister spoke in the ballroom, the student union ballroom. I never forget, he had a white uniform. He was clean, man. So when I came in, I left the cafeteria, and a friend of mine named Bill Warren from Camden, New Jersey, and we saw a sign in the cafeteria said, Minister Halim Abdul Farrakhan speaking at 6 o'clock. So we was like, wow, man, let's get on over there. We got over there, and we rushed over there, and they had already started. And he sat in the back, and I sat on the front row on the end. And man, somebody talked to him about, the education system. And my major at that time was psychology. The minister ripped up psychology, man. He said, that's nothing but trickology. These Carl Jung, Sigma Freud, it's nothing but games they playing. It's not really effective. And I'm saying, man, it's cutting my major up, because I'm thinking, wow, man, we got to deal with the mind to reach our people to change. So
yes,
affected my life, and he was speaking about the sciences. So I went to the head of the psych department, psych undergraduate department. Her name, a Black lady, sister, by the name of Dr. Thomas. And I submitted another proposal to her for my major, and it came to clinical social psychobiology. Now, then, I was trying to be a scientist, to cure the ills, because as a martial artist, I felt that the mind and the body was inseparable, and yet there were social ramifications that affected us as a people, different from the middle-class subjects that those scientists studied and came up with these theories about.
yes,
so I was trying to be a scientist, and again, when I went that year in 1970 to the University of Ife, transferred for a year, and I hadn't joined the Navy, but when I was there, I was into social, Black Pan-Africanism. I was trying to be a cultural activist. I'm wearing the Ekbata, the Fila, and all of that, thinking, man, got to bring this back to America. We got to show them that we are culturally identified with them, and etc. Well, to my chagrin, most of the students there were saying to me, brother, we don't want to hear anything but the teacher, Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I'm like, whoa, who is this man? Why are they saying this here? You know? And at the time, I'm thinking, man, that's contrary to what I'm about. So when I came back and I looked at the nation a lot closer because I was thinking, man, I'm not wearing no bow ties and necktie. I'm not looking like the devil, man. White folks, you know, hey, that's their thinking. That's their dress. Brother told me, he said, man, that's camouflage. You know, you come in, you can't go to the ivory towers, talking to business meetings, looking all this ekbata and down with the robe. There's nothing wrong with that, but they're not going to accept you, you know? So I said, oh, okay. And that's teachings helped me even more so to identify and to gravitate into studying the teachings even more so. So, and I accepted my letter in 1972. And I must say this, I got to give my brother the props. I became a director in LA. As a matter of fact, I stood up in March 27. Yes, sir. And he was now Imam Kareem Hassan, who spoke at the last speak of this particular Ramadan. He was the last speaker before the minister that day before, rather. It was a beautiful minister. Man, that man was crisp, you know, sharp, man. And one of his lieutenants, Brother Shaheed, his name was Brother Vernon then, and Brother Shaheed now, who assisted me in so many ways in standing up. He is the regional captain on the West Coast. Brother Shaheed, beautiful brother, and he assisted me in so many ways. So in guiding me with the teachings and showing me what a real lieutenant, a real soldier in Islam was. Beautiful brother. I got to take my hat off to him because, you know, those things feel like men should sharpen men. But accepting that teachings in 72 was very significant in my life. You know, I used to go and see the junior fruit training upstairs and drilling in the morning before class. I said, look at this here. There is hope for our people, man. You know, and then I see them students so dignified and orderly. I said, this got to be from God. So, yes, sir, I submerged 100%. And of course, when Wharf Dean came in, bless his soul, I was out selling the Baladian News. At that time, he changed the name from Muhammad Speaks to Baladian News. And told that we didn't have to wear neckties, bow ties, just be casual. Well, I was selling one time in LA on Santa Barbara Boulevard, which is Martin Luther King Boulevard now. And I was selling in front of a grocery store, and a lady came up, older sister, said, "What? Where are all the young men with the bow ties and neck?" And I told her then, I said, "Sister, we'll be back." I just had that feeling, brother. And all praise due to Allah, we are. Yes, sir.
Praise be to God. Yes, sir. Beautiful. Yes, sir. My next question for you is, what was it like when the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad departed, and how did that personally impact you?
Brother, impact me quite a bit. You know, I went down, Brother Khalid Muhammad, you know, the famous, infamous Khalid Muhammad,
Yes,
asked
sir.
me to go down to Shreveport, Louisiana with him to open up a mosque. And I'm there at 27, trying to soldier, had just got a job teaching martial arts for LA Southwest College. And I just got an apartment. And I know that brother was a strong teacher. He was a fireball. So I said, I don't know, but he said, brother, what do you want to be? A pioneer like a David Crockett, or you want to stay here and be a settler? What are you going to be? You know? So I said, okay, let's pioneer. I went down there and soldiered with the brother down in Shreveport for a good year. And we opened a mosque. And the first mosque we had was a little building between two juke joints, okay? And we would bring the people in that they would stagger from one to another, bring it in, and we were teaching hard. And we soldiered hard throughout that southwestern region, southern region, from Baton Rouge, New Orleans, and Dallas, which was headquarters. Matter of fact, Minister Yusef Shaw was over that region. Beautiful brother, which was Malcolm's captain. So I had a chance to work with him for a while.
Okay.
But my point is that when it fell, it really bothered me. It was so much that I felt that we were losing as a people the strength, the dignity. And I saw the shadow, the dullness over many of the officials that were there that I looked up to, who were secretaries in March 27, the treasurers, and I saw the dullness come over them, and I said, "Where's that shine? Where's that sheen?" You know, and I saw that loss, and it bothered me. So I left. I stayed in Louisiana, Shreveport, for a year with Brother Khalid, and then I came back to LA, and I came to LA, moved back to North Carolina in '77, and January the 15th. I was looking at television and it said, Minister Farrakhan coming to speak at B N Duke Auditorium at North Carolina Central University here in Durham, which I'm now a member of the March 34 as well in Durham.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Teacher, Brother Hon Muhammad, beautiful brothers. With him yesterday. I spoke with him yesterday and saw him yesterday. Beautiful brother. Beautiful teacher. I got to give him the props.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I had a student of mine. It was raining that afternoon. I had a student of mine, Brother Chavis, who eventually drowned, bless his soul, a few years ago. And I said, "Man, we got to go hear Minister Farrakhan." He said, "Who's that?" I said, "Man, come on, you'll see." So we went, and it was just a handful of people, you know. And at that time, he had a little light shag beard, not too heavy, and a little fro. And he was teaching about the Masons' teachings, the Shriners and the Masons. He was, telling the truth about it. I could tell he was wavering from Imam Warstein, and he was kind of like an island by himself. And some of the brothers in the audience were saying, "How did he know that? Jubilam, Jubilee, how did he know about that? How did he know about the stone, And I heard the brothers say, they don't. So I told Brother Chavis, I said, "Brother, that's the man going to take us across." He said, "Man, who?" I said, "Yes, sir." So I went backstage after he spoke, and I said, I talked to the minister. I said, "Minister, I need to speak to you, sir. I'd like to talk to you." So he gave me his home number. And so I noticed he was loading into the van. Two security officers were taking him back to the Brownstone Hotel. This is 1977 in downtown Durham. So I rushed around, got my car, and I said, "Brother, I don't know those security guys. We got to put security on the minister now." So I got in the car. We followed that van. "Yes, sir, brother." I put security. I said, "That's going to take us across, brother." So we got in the van, in my car rather, and we followed the van to the hotel. And I saw the minister get out of the van and walk to the elevator with his briefcase and went to his room. The next day, I called him, made sure he got home safe. And yes, sir, at that point, I said, "It's on now. It's on now." Sir. So we talk, matter of fact, every day for a good year. As a matter of fact, it was so regular that Mother Khadijah said, "Brother, this Brother Shaheed, yes, ma'am, here's the leader, here's the minister." And we, so one day he told me, he said, "Brother, I'm in my basement, and we're going to start the newspaper back. The final call, we're going to call it the final call." And at that time, only time I had a question. I said, "Brother, why don't we use the picture, the original picture the messenger had with the two hands across the globe from Africa and America, why don't we do that?" He said, "Brother," when he said, the messenger said, "Brother, that the trumpet has to be blown. And this is the final call. And that, it's like when the train comes to the station, woo woo, man, come his final call." When he said the messenger told him. When he said that, I had to stand up. "Yes, sir, brother." There was no question. And I was blessed to receive one of the first copies, the batch of the 100 papers of the final call, in which I attended the first meeting, the first nations meeting that was held, I think it was May the 27th, the day after, which was a Saturday. They had the largest plane crash in America at the Harrow Airport in Chicago. And it was the day after. People say, "Man, what you find in Chicago that day? We just had a plane." I said, "Look, Allah is God." So we had the first meeting there at the hotel, at the airport. I think it was a Holiday Inn. Brother Akbar was there, Brother Jabril, and I was there, of course. And man, I knew right then, we on now. It's all on. So anyway, and ever since then, brother, I've been supportive as much as I can, whenever I can. I was speaking to him on the phone one day, and he said, "Guess who's here?" I said, "I don't know." And the brother, he handed the phone to the brother. He said, "Assalamu alaikum." I knew it was the brother Khalid. And he's going to LA to open the mosque. And I was working in Seoul City at that time as a assistant architectural planner, which was a multi-million-dollar small city project funded by the government. And so under the auspices, shall I say, of Floyd McKissick, who was an attorney for the Messenger, who was one of the founders of CORE, Congress of Racial Equality.
Yes,
so
sir,
at that time, I was telling Brother Floyd, man, I talked to the minister, man, and he said, "Oh, give the minister greetings." So I was passing the greetings and salutation to the minister periodically. And so Khalid asked me to come to LA to help him. So I thought again, and I left all of that, brother. I had a house there, and I left. I said, I was looking pretty good. I was working with the largest black architect firm in America at that time, called Madison and Madison International. And they had built the U.S. Embassy, Senegal, and many structures and offices all over the country and the world. So I was set up with them pretty good. So I left and went to L.A. And matter of fact, my abode was in one of my students' school. I slept on the mat there in school. Yes, sir. Sacrifice. And the minister asked me one time, he said, "Brother, I want you to, I'm going to send my son out there, Lewis Jr." So Lewis came out and stayed with me for a while. And of course, he told me one day, he said, "Brother, I got a job in Pasadena with working with a guy who has a wreck truck, And I said, "Okay, brother, but the minister wants you to stay with me, brother. I'm trying to guide him, keep him in tight. Yeah, I didn't want him out of my sight because the minister need to keep him under my wing." So nevertheless, he did his thing, but brother, it was a sacrifice, and it always is a sacrifice in working and in this divine mission. And I look forward to always sacrificing the challenges. And there's many more sacrifices and challenges I can share with you when I was in Phoenix later on down the road. Any other question there, sir?
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. And I want to make sure that on behalf of myself, family, and viewing audience, that we thank you for your sacrifice and the sacrifices of your family as well, sir.
Praises due to Allah.
Yes, sir. Well, how did your parents feel about you accepting the teachings?
Well, my mother today, she still is, and she's, bless her soul, she's 92, and just last week she was telling me as a neighbor that's is a Muslim, and she said, "I'm trying to convert her back to Christianity." I said, "Mom," I said, "she's already a Christian. I said, we all Christian. I said, we believe in the Bible just as much as you do, Mom. I said, Jesus' name is mentioned in the Holy Quran, and Mary, his mother, more so in the Quran than the Bible." I said, "We are Christian." I said, "I'm a good Christian because I want to be Christ-like, like Jesus." I constantly tell her that. But see, our people have been so conditioned to think that we are so different, that we're Mohammedisms, as she would say, and that we don't believe in Jesus. So I'm constantly teaching her. She's coming around a little bit at one point. She was telling me years ago when she was living in the Jordan Down projects in Watts. She said, "I was going to become a Muslim, but a brother wouldn't let me get a bean. I had 10 children, 11 children. He wouldn't let me get a bean pie on credit till my check came through." She said, I said, "Mom, that's no excuse. You believe what you believe, But anyway, she had some leaning at one point to Islam, but deep inside, she knows that it's good for me. And my grandparents who raised me, they had no problem with it. Of course, they had a problem with pork. They said, "Boy, I'm gonna eat that good meat. That's the good sweet meat." I said, "Mom, look at." I tried to tell them. I showed them in the scriptures where it's forbidden in Leviticus and throughout that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
About it, but I couldn't take them off that, So, but yet and still, they saw that that was something that I was serious about. They'll test me, or they try. Yes, sir. But it's due to Allah. Yes, sir.
Excellent, sir. And my next question for you, and thank you all for continuing to watch people's podcasts, and I see you all's comments as well. Yes, sir. What and everybody, a lot of people sending you the greetings and love, sir. My next question is, because you were with the Most Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan for so long, like, and you were in the nation for so. When did you go from seeing the minister as someone you knew him as Abdul Halim, like when he was calling himself, Abdul Halim? When did you go from seeing him as maybe a speaker or an activist to someone who was in fact divinely guided?
When did I see him as divine guided person?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Day one, when I first saw him speak.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Oh man, his spirit, I mean, the energy I felt from him, man, it was like, hey, I felt it, brother. It was divine. I said, this is a divine brother here. When I saw him at the University of Pittsburgh in 1970, when he spoke, I was about 2 feet from him, well, a few feet in front of him on the front row. And I felt that spirit, brother. Yes, sir. And matter of fact, when he left, I never forget that, man. When he left, I followed them out, the brother FOI, out on the front of the student union building. And I saw all these back then. It was deuce and a quarters, they were the Berg and the big Bergs, and he was at March number 7 in New York. And man, they took you, man, you should have seen that. It was the way they came on, pulled in a line. And then went out, and when they got ready to leave with him on Fifth Avenue, which is the busiest city in LA, Fifth Avenue. At that time, it was 2 lanes, it was trolley cars. When they pulled out to take him, I think they said they were going to the airport to take him to the airport. When they pulled out, you couldn't get a pin between those cars. Traffic stopped. I said, look at that. That's some power there. I stood back and just admired that, man. I said, that's some unity, that's some power. They didn't slow up, and they took over, brother. They were like the gods that they are, brother. That was power. Yes, sir.
Beautiful. Okay, excellent. In your time, well, how did you get into Wing Chun?
Well, first of all, I started the martial arts in 1959. Okay, there was a minister from Korea that came to my church, Presbyterian Church, as a missionary. He and his wife and his son, little Kim, who was 5 years of age. And I started to march. His son, I used to see them catty-corner from my house because we was of the same church. And I was 9, he was 5. So I was like a big brother to him in the neighborhood because my dad was the scout, granddad was the scout master, and it was a part of the church. And I was one that was there in the closest in the neighborhood of the church. So actually, little Kim was my first teacher. I used to see him and his dad in the backyard going through some training. And then got close, he used to come up to my house, and back then you leave the windows open, and he used to jump through my window and wrestle, and I played with him, and wrestle him down and make him tough, and then he would show me some of the stuff. I said, oh, then his dad eventually started showing me some stuff. And I was like, it was basically Taekwondo. They're originally from Korea. And that's when I first started. Then when I left from there, when I moved to Pittsburgh, matter of fact, no, in 1967, there was, when I went to started my first year of college, it was at Fayetteville State University in Fayetteville. And there was 2 brothers from New York, Temple number 7. They were called the McGregor twins. And them brothers were awesome, man. And so I shared some things with them. They shared some things with me, and they were very disciplined. That's another thing I had, was that connection with them, to look at them from a distance, how disciplined they were. They didn't follow the crowd, but they were there on a mission. So I studied with them for a while, and also received a brown belt in judo from a trainer who was training the Fort Bragg soldiers. And I studied brown karate there. And then from there, I got it. My first black belt, rather, was in Ishinryu Karate from the Pittsburgh Ishinryu Academy. And I think it was Liberty Street there in downtown Pittsburgh. So, yes, sir. I went from there. Now, how I got into Wing Chun when I moved to LA, I first started Walloon Kung Fu from a master instructor, grandmaster, Yui Wong, which was, matter of fact, Brother Steve Muhammad. He also studied with him as well.
Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, but we didn't cross paths except for at different demonstrations and events that we see each other, because him and Jim Kelly were very close. They had the DKF Federation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Took care of the west side of LA, and I was holding the east side, the south central LA down.
Okay.
Everybody and their grandmother wanted to study martial arts. Matter of fact, I first met Brue Lee in 1968 at the Carter Burn Theater in D.C. And I took some of my students there. And after he was a Green Hornet star back then, Cato, and he was doing a tour. And I took my students to go see him at the Carter Burn Amphitheater. And after I went backstage to see, because man, things he was doing were very impressive. So I went to the side of the stage and introduced myself, and he was walking away, and I walked away, and we turned around, and we both turned at the same time. He threw that thumbs up and that smile and said, "Keep teaching." And I said, "Yes, sir." You know, so I was very impressed with him. Of course, back then we all have a little ego in the martial arts world, and that's something that we all have to rid ourselves of. But I started Wing Chun, back to your initial question, under a gentleman that studied with Brue Lee's #1 student and protege, Daniel Santos. And his name was Torrance Mathis. So I had opened up like several schools in LA teaching Walloon Kung Fu, and which deal with the animal styles under Grandmaster Arthur Wong, and also some of my previous systems, Ishinru Karate. And so Torrance, man, he studied with Danny in Culver City, I think the school was, and Torrance and I became very close. He used to come to my school and I allowed him to teach in my school. So we would share information, especially on Sundays. Many schools of thought, martial artists would come to my school and we would share philosophies, concepts, and training. But Torrance and I worked very closely together. And that's when I first got introduced to Wing Chun, based from Danny, who studied from Bruce. So the lineage was that Bruce, who studied under Yip Man, and another professor that taught Bruce more so than Yip Man, because Yip Man said Bruce was 100% Chinese. I think it was Leo, I can't think of his name, Liu or something of the sort. But anyway, so from that lineage, from Danny, from Bruce to Danny to Torrance, who was, matter of fact, he was Danny's, Santo's #1 student, I understand. So Torrance was very effective. He taught me the Khali sticks, or screamer. Some people call it the Sanawali. Stick fighting.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I teach that as well
Beautiful.
as teach the hand techniques in Wing Chun, all the terminologies. I had 2 Mu Chun wooden dummies at my school. And so I enjoy teaching a combination of Walloon Wing Chun. And Walloon, of course, deals with an animal system, the tiger, the crane, the bull, the elephant. But
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I was blessed to create a style when I was in Africa. I used to go to the university zoo every so often, every other day or so. I would take fruit to these animals, to different animals rather. But what caught my mind was the baboon. They were in their own live captivity in the deep pit, and rocks and little tree limbs, and I had pictures of them. And there was a baby baboon I called it Coco. I was use that condition. So when I would come up, baboon, the male baboon would always take the fruit from the baby. So I used that signal and what we call in psychology the classical condition to get a train that was reward every time I would make that sound and go to a different spot of the pit. So then behind the pit, in the back of the wall, there was where the trainer would come in and would feed them. So I went to the cage and I made that sound, and the baby came, little Coco, and I would feed her out my hand. I would move my hand back because they had long, thick black nails, and I didn't know if it would, cut my hand off or what. So she would catch it in the air, and then the mother baboon came, and she would sit and watch, the outside area and enclosure where they were, and to make sure that everything was safe, that I was okay. And then here comes the king baboon. It's called the Oro Obo or the Oko in Europe.
Yes,
People come, boy, and let me tell you, and to give them my eye contact is a threat. So I lowered my gaze, and then I started looking at him in his eye, and his eyebrows would go up, and he started going through his antics. So then I started developing that style. I said, I never heard. I heard the monkey, the tiger, the elephant, the bull, the crane, and all these other styles. So I was blessed to create that style called the baboon or the Oko. I've been many martial arts magazines in which I would feature that style. I was featured also at the Harangdo Association, um, through the Wushu Association as well, that they have each year in Maryland. I introduced that. So I am the founder of that particular animal system. The baboon. And you know, the baboons at one point were domesticated. They guarded the Egyptian pyramids during that era. And they were domesticated, and they were during the Egyptian era called the god of Thoth, which is the god of thought. So they are very close, and they're still roaming throughout Egypt today and the Sudan area. Yes, sir. So, but back to Wing Chun, I love that style along with Walloon. So I developed a style called Walloon Wing Chun. Yes, sir. Where they both.
Okay, excellent. And thank you for teaching that. I want to go back to Bruce Lee.
Yes, sir.
Was that the only time you had an interaction with him?
Oh, no, sir. Matter of fact, the second time was in LA. I was leaving my instructor school, Grandmaster Arguay Wong School down in Chinatown. And he was the only one, Master Wong, was teaching indigenous people from different cultures, which people in Chinese didn't like that in Chinatown. They didn't like him teaching Caucasians and other Asian brothers, some of our Chicano brothers. And they didn't like that. But he felt his own thing. He was doing his thing. And matter of fact, the Walloon style and Wing Chun are both from the same area of China, Canton, China, the southern province. And so there was a lot of similarity. Also, in the school had a wooden dummy, the Muk Chun, which is called the wooden dummy. Okay, we had that in the school, so it was very similar. Um, your question again, I'm sorry, was
what your interactions with Bruce Lee? Like, how were they?
I'm sorry, right, back to Bruce Lee. So one night I was leaving the studio there, and Bruce Lee was up on First Street in the parking lot, him and some other people. And I walked up to him. I said, wow. So I introduced myself again. I said, remember 1968? And, you know, he's seen so many people. You know, I said in D.C., you know, where we met initially, I said, oh, thank you so much. And he said, he said, I told him I had like about 300-400 students in Watts. And, you know, he was excited about that, you know, that I'm still teaching because he asked me to continue doing that, which I'm still doing. And we'll never stop. My instructor was 87 before he passed, bless his soul, and he was still teaching then. So I'm not going to stop, you know, why? So anyway, Bruce asked me then, would I want to be in one of his movies? And I said, oh, by all means, you know, of course, two of my friends were in this movie. Three, matter of fact, Danny Santos, Bruce Lee, Danny Santos, Steve Muhammad, as well as Jim Kelly. I knew Jim Kelly well, as yes, well sir, as yes, I used to pass by Jim every day from my house in West LA going to Watts, and he'd be out there waxing and washing his in short pants, of course, his fro. You know, all the girls see him, and he'll wax it. You know, and I would stop and talk to him a while. So we've seen each other at different events and many presentations I would put on demonstrations with my students. So, and I would tell all my students when I got back from meeting Bruce that day, hey man, I want to be in a movie with Bruce, man. Bruce offered me to be in a movie with him. I was so excited. So, my students amped their game up then because I used to take them, you know, back then, like I said, everybody, their grandmother loved the martial arts. So I would take them in my van. We had a 15-passenger van, and we would load up with 20 people, you know, and go to the theater in LA, outside theater. We sleep, they'd be on top of the van, under the van, or whatever. We all was into Bruce Lee characterization and what he presented. As a matter of fact, let me interject this right quick. Back then, in 1970, there was a survey that was taken of the most popular household word in America. I think it was 1972. And Bruce Lee, of course, in 72, 73, you know, there were three names that was on that survey, the most popular. Number one, Muhammad Ali. He was coming back into the fight game. Number two, President Nixon was going through the Watergate trial. Everybody was tuning into that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Number three, Bruce Lee. You know who won? Bruce Lee was the most popular word in America. So by him that, and my theory is that he was also, and I've heard this through the grapevine, many brothers in the nation back then, that Bruce was asked and commissioned by the messenger to teach the FOI, which I understand he accepted to do that. And there was a price that was quoted, I'm not going to say, but there was a price quoted, and he agreed, of course, to do that. Now, my theory was that Bruce was assassinated. Yes, sir. Yes, he was political assassination because the fact that by him being that popular, and many of the Eastern concept and philosophy were coming in, medicine, that is, okay, therapy and all type of Eastern philosophy. There was a Cold War, Eastern and Western philosophy. Matter of fact, I was studying acupuncture, and I've studied that for quite a while. Started in 1971, and so there was the AMA had many laws in the country against some states. If you talk about it, you get arrested or pay a fine. So my teacher in Chinatown, uh, his name was Alex. He had a acupuncture business as well. As my instructor did acupuncture, Master Wong. But anyway, I had my needles and studying concept and the whole 9 yards. And he asked me, he showed me a letter, about 20 different letters. He said, listen, would you want to go and start initially training some of these doctors in acupuncture? I got to a proficient level where I was practicing it, and they would pay $500 a week. I turned it down. I said, no, I think I need to know more. I didn't have that much confidence in it. So martial arts tour, and I went to the first acupuncture center to open up in America in Boston on Commonwealth Boulevard. His name was Dr. Steve Rosenblatt, who opened up the first center there. And I met with him, and he offered me a job, would I come in and intern, and I denied that as well. I wanted to go back and study more, become more proficient in acupuncture. So, but it was taboo. Now you have acupuncture centers all over every corner now.
Yes, sir.
So it's how the AMA try to control as much as they can. My battery is going low here for some reason.
Yes, sir. It's okay, brother. While you get your charger, I'm going to have a quick commercial break to 60 seconds just to highlight our great sponsors of this month's episode.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I want to thank, and I want to make sure I thank all of the sponsors from this week's episode. This month's episode, I want to thank all of you, and thank you all for continuing to watch the People's Podcast. The first sponsors that, if you would like to be a sponsor of the People's Podcast, it is Cash App, the People's Podcast. I want to thank everyone who has our continued sponsors. 1 second. Thank you very much. While our brother gets his. Boom. 1 second. Here we go. Boom. Just like that. All righty. We want to thank Street Premiere Media Production. My brother Rashad and Jamal. They have a 4K camera drone. They have cameras. They do television, film, and they're working on some big projects coming up this year as we speak. My sister Miriam's children's book, ABC I Love Me, and coloring book is on Amazon. Make sure you all go get that. And thank you, Mimi, for your continued support. My sister Naima, Stay On Point Dance Academy, LLC. She's teaching ballet virtually to girls all across the country. And she now has working out of a studio in person. Supreme Men's Clothing and Fashion. If you all need some good clothes, reach out to our brother out of St. Louis. He will ship the clothes wherever you need. Raising Black Millionaires, Sister Tia Muhammad. I want to thank you. She's teaching economic empowerment and development to young Black children. Brother Kenneth Muhammad, bow tie maker extraordinaire. He will ship his bow ties to you anywhere in the country. Thank you very much, Brother Kenneth. Brother Todd X McGraw, Supreme Team Insurance. If you need some insurance, come right back. I'll take care of that. Exodus, a new way of life, credit restoration. If you need your credit done, thank you all for all your sponsorships. Khaliq's Boutique, exclusive shirts. They do custom shirts. Thank you all very much for your support. Here we go, Brother Chantel X. They are hiring truck drivers. They they specialize in refrigeration, the X and Express. Thank you very much, Brother Chantel. Brother Jabbar Muhammad, Client First Construction, painting, carpentry, flooring, plumbing, etc. out of Chicago, Illinois. Make sure we support our brother. Sister Landra El Muhammad, Navy Beans More Than Bean Pies. She has great food. I'm coming right back to you, Brother Master Shaheed. Dr. Henry M. Carter, King Henry's Turkey Legs. Out here in Atlanta, Georgia, make sure you get some turkey legs. Brother Rashad Muhammad, COVID-19 disinfecting cleaning service in Chicago. If you all need your business clean, please reach out to Brother Rashad. My father's book, A Soldier in the Movement of Christ, AbdulSharif.com. Thank you very much, Dad. And last but not least, my two books, No Father, No Excuse, Cleopatra, which is on Amazon, and No Father, No Excuse. I'm coming right back to you, Brother Captain, as we wait for his battery to get charged. I want to read the comments. Thank you, ASASA. It's some great history. Hey, Brother Ghazi, Thank you very much, Brother Ghazi. Sister Andrea, assalamu alaikum. My husband is getting ready to lose it. When I say, oh, praise be to Allah. Oh, hey, somebody, Sister Andrea. And we look forward to watching your show tonight as well. Thank all of the believers. Brother Roy says ASA Top Soldier. That's his big brother. Shout out to everybody who's giving love. Brother Deshane, Sister Naima, Sister Miriam, everyone. Okay, Brother Master is back. I have a question for you, sir.
Sure.
Because you are trained in the arts and have mastered Wing Chun, you have a certain aura about you and aura about you, especially when you know the teachings and have the knowledge of yourself. However, being in America, in South Central and the South, and traveling and putting your life on the line for the Most High Mitzvahs Farrakhan, these are some dangerous situations. Have you ever faced fear? And if so, how did you overcome that fear?
No, sir. I only fear Allah. You know,
Yes, sir.
myself. There was one situation once was that I was at the Mafundi Institute. I was working, closing it up one day, and matter of fact, Mafundi is a word that means craftsman, and it's a place where I had my first school in LA, which was the building and that a company, rather devised by Imam Amir Baraka, which Leroy Jones, the poet, as well as Malana Karinga, founder of Kwanzaa, and I became the director in 1972. And hold on, my extension cord is here. Just a second.
Yes, sir. Take your time. All right. I want to thank everybody else for watching. Master Shaheed Muhammad, as he gives us some great history and backstory to Wing Chun, his life's journey, and it's an amazing one. Also, we look forward to hearing about his performance, his demonstration at the White House or for Barack Obama. We look forward to hearing that as well. I thank you all for continuing to watch the People's Podcast. Later on today, we have a great guest in Brother Farad Muhammad out of Chicago, who is a championship driller, and he's going to give us what it's like to be a youth and growing up in the Nation of Islam after this. Okay, yes, sir. Master Shaheed.
Yes, sir.
Okay, are you ready, sir?
Yes, sir. I'm ready.
Okay, wonderful, sir. So you're talking about the incident that happened at the building with Morale.
Oh, yes, sir.
And whatever.
Yeah, and you asked me did I have fear. Well, one of the most serious times that I had was this young brother came into the building, and I was working with many, many gang leaders. We had an organization called Brothers Unlimited. We were founded and funded by many of the gang leaders, and I had a good rapport with all the gangs. Okay. However, this young brother came in. I didn't know him. He came in, and I was coming down the steps, locking the building up, and he was coming up the steps and pulled a long 38 gun out on me. And when he did, I said, I'm not going to turn and move real fast. I said, because he could really shoot me and get away. Nobody else was in the building. I'm not going to try to jump down. He was halfway up the steps. I was at the top of the steps. And I didn't know he was going to fire. So what I did was I said something to him. I said, brother, you shoot me, so what? I'll be another dead Negro. And I used the other word, you know what I mean? And I said, you'll be in jail the rest of your life. Well, he put his gun in his waistband and left down the steps. I've never seen him since. Now, I teach my students, first thing I teach them, the number one weapon is their mind, putting the God first. Use that mind. That's the number one weapon. Because I asked them the question, what's your number one weapon? Someone say, my hands, my feet. No, that mind. And then I teach my students the number two weapon, which a lot of people say, oh, wow, maybe that's my hands and feet. No, your voice.
Yes, sir.
Communicate. That's something that we don't do or know how to do, which you can subterfuge many hostile situations by using your voice. So those are two weapons that I teach first. And I try to use those, and of course, putting God first. So in another situation, I was on my way from North Carolina, on my way to Los Angeles. I have done a couple of movies, small film projects, and I was on my way with a student. And we left Phoenix early that night, and it's got to be about 4 a.m. And I told him when the sun come up, I'll take over the wheel. Well, anyway, I think he fell asleep at the wheel, and the car flipped over about 7 or 8 times. And as it was flipping, I saw a blue light in the car, and I just said to myself, oh, Allah, you know, if it's time to go, you know, it's your will. I'm with you. and he came out the front windshield a little bit down the road, and I came out in the car. I stayed in the car, matter of fact, because when it stopped up on the roof, and I crawled out because the windows had popped out, and I crawled out. So immediately, I mean, I was ready to go, brother. I had no power in that. You know, I couldn't be tightened up and be afraid. Got laws control. So I went down immediately in prostrate, and we said a prayer. There was a time when I was doing an exhibition, a martial arts exhibition in Pittsburgh at the university, and I was showing how to defect a knife blindfolded, and I was stabbed a few inches from my heart. And as I was ushered down from the in the elevator down to the ground level to meet the ambulance, I was laid on the gurney, and I saw all the students at the university crying. Oh, I had closed my eyes and gone into a zone of controlling my blood pressure. And at that time, I said, it was will of Allah. You know, my heart, I mean, blood was pumping. You could see it pumping about 6 inches from my chest, just pumping, pumping. So we got to the hospital, and the doctor put a tube in my nose to try to stop my, to pump the blood because they're going to do an operation. And at that time, I said to myself, you know, because it hurt. When he put that tube in my nose, I said, he slapped me in my face. I said, man, slap me, man. He said, what, you want to die? So I said, well, try that side, not doc. I try that nostril. So we came to a even accord where he pumped, and that was an experience. But and another situation was that I was swimming on the coast of LA, off of the coast there, and I was swimming out, and a cold current hit me and was taking me out. And even at that point, I took a deep breath. I held my breath because I was like, maybe I was going down trying to find stuff at the bottom. It's about maybe 10 feet down. And a cold, like ice bucket of water was thrown on me. And I just said, oh, Lord, but I relaxed. So many times in danger, if we take a control of your emotions,
yes, sir,
as we're studying today, and put that in check, that can save your life, your breathing, and all of that. So we have to learn how to take that breathing, that breath, and control that in a situation of danger. And matter of fact, speaking of danger, before I went to the motherland for school that year, many of the brothers and sisters at the University of Pittsburgh were saying, oh man, you're going over to the elephants, lions, and tigers. You ain't coming back. Da, 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 da. You know, heard all of that gibberish. When I came back, I wrote an article at the university newspaper, and I think it also hit the Pittsburgh Courier newspaper there. And the article, and I have a copy of it now. The title of it was Black Atmosphere of Brotherly Love, in which I spoke about how I felt safer walking down a dark African road at night than I would feel safer walking down a daytime in any suburban neighborhood in America. Jamal Aubrey, shall I say any more? You know, so brother, I did. I felt safer. And one night we were stranded there, and there was what they call the Iranian man, which is part of the culture in Yoruba, where this is called the sacrifice man, where you'll hear two metal plates that are circled, and they're going around and around, and that means the sacrifice man is coming out to sacrifice the life of an animal or human. So we were stranded in Ife at that time, about 10 o'clock that night, because at night people don't hang out too much. But we was at a place called the Premier Hotel, you know, just hanging out. And so we heard that sound, and we all jumped in the van and caught this van back to the school about a few miles away. And I never forget, man, we was afraid because we didn't know what or where. It was new to me. So, but yet the brothers in Africa and brothers from the States, a few of us, we were singing a song, Kumbaya, my Lord, you know, and then we were saying English, Kumbaya, come by here, my Lord, come by here. So, and we shall overcome. So it was a unity feeling there, but fear, you know, is only emotion that sometimes we have to put in check because it would keep us from succeeding. It would definitely keep us from succeeding. And give an example of another, you know, there's many examples I had in the motherland.
Can I stop you right there, sir?
Sure, please.
I got to follow up with the sacrifice man. Now, the sacrifice man makes this sound, and you there, and you see him. Are you supposed to engage, or are you supposed to just like let yourself be like, what's the rules on the sacrifice man?
I get his warning is to get your butt inside. Warning, people don't be hanging out after 10 o'clock at night, man, doing whatever. It's not good. So he's going to get something, because, hey, they don't play that, at least back then. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
sir.
And was he working on behalf of the state, or like for like a police officer type feel, or is he just
No, it's part of it, because he's like a loner. He lives out from
Okay.
the village, outside from the village. He's not right in the city. Some people don't know who he is, but he's commissioned to do that. Yes, sir. And there was
Beautiful.
one situation I had, which wasn't a fearful situation, but it could have been. Um, Me and this brother, his name is Eddie Red. I think he's an attorney now. He was from Brandeis University, and so we met over there. But over there at that time, students were either in the upper echelon. Their fathers was the military, or some echelon. There was no middle class back then. So me and Eddie, we was told when we got there not to go down to the teacher's compound, and we was wondering why. Well, me and Eddie knew that they had a swimming pool down there. So come to find out, me and Eddie got tired of just sitting around, because during the middle of the day, there was a time where everything was shut down from like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock to about 4 o'clock. Nothing goes on. Everything just shuts down. So we said, man, there's a swimming pool. Let's go down to the swimming pool. Knowing we weren't supposed to go. We was told to stay away. So we strapped on some shorts underneath our jeans, some cut off jeans, I think, underneath our jeans. And we went all the way down about a mile and a half from where our students' compound was. And we walked in the hot sun, and we saw it was like an oasis across this high grass. And it was a 10-foot fence, chain link fence. So we know we couldn't go through the gate. So we walked through this grass, which we know it could have been snakes or whatever. We had no fear. We crossed and climbed up that chain link fence, dropped our shorts, and got up on the high dive and dove into that water, man. I said, whoa, this is beautiful, man. All the Caucasian students, little kids, and their parents was around, and our sisters and brothers were waiting on them. And of course, there was a couple of blacks whose fathers and mothers were teachers, of course, but predominantly Caucasians. So when I hit the water and dove in and came up, this brother came over. He was in white shorts and white socks and white shoes and white shirt. He was a waiter. He came over and said, "You must get out the pool now. Get out the pool." I said, "Brother," I said, I'm here in my motherland. I'm enjoying this. I said, "Who told you to tell me to get out?" He goes, run back again. "You must get out the pool. Get out the pool now." I said, "Brother, please go tell who told you to tell me to get out of the pool in my motherland." So finally, this Caucasian came over, little wire rim glasses and a goatee. And he came over and said, "I see the old chap." I said, "I say to you, my friend, how are you?" And I said, "Welcome to my motherland." He said, "Oh," he said, I said, "Are you saying I'm not to be in the pool here in the motherland?" "No." So to make a long story short, he eventually called us over, let us come over to the uh, patio area where he and a few other instructors were drinking beer. So we wanted something cold. Yeah, we drank a beer. And the brother who asked us to get out was the one that came over and waited on us. So we turned the table. And I ended up becoming a swimming instructor. So I earned some extra cash by teaching many of the indigenous children there who weren't there to swim. And that was a victory. Yes, sir.
Beautiful. And Master Shaheed, what do you do for fun now?
What I do for fun?
Yes, sir.
I teach. I love teaching, brother. I
Okay,
ride
yes,
my
sir.
bike. I go 10 miles twice a week on my bike. I ride, and I'm a 10 speed, and I love riding. Um, of course, I do a little fishing now and then, but I like teaching, brother. That's what I do for fun. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And if you could choose your favorite album, musical album of all time, what would it be?
Oh, man, there's so many, many. What's Going On, Marvin Gaye.
Okay,
Uh,
okay.
and there's many more. And speaking of music, I'm a musician as well. I'm a
Oh, I didn't know
pianist.
that.
Yes, sir. I played the keyboards, and I was with a jazz group called the Ebony Sounds, and I also played classical music. Matter of fact, one time I was a current minister in I don't know, it was in San Francisco. This was in the early '80s, and when he finished speaking at Cal Berkeley, we escorted him to this hotel. It's a big hotel that's well known. There are golf tournaments there. So we escorted him to the hotel, and we were asked, and I was on point, and the security that was, and the minister asked us to, go to the ballroom where students were coming to meet. And back then, he met with students. They were asked questions, and he did an answering question period there, 1-on-1. So when I walked in, I saw this baby grand sitting on the side there in the middle. And the minister, I made sure all the brothers got on point on post and made sure there was on point security, the minister. And I saw the baby grand, and I started playing a song called Exodus. Exodus was a movie that came out in 1961 by Paul Newman. And the significance of that movie was the exodus of the Jews to the Holy Land. And I knew that song had a very significant meaning, and the starting words is, land is mine, God gave this land to me. And it goes into crescendo and back down to the low. So I played that song because I saw that in the minister. I said, this is the man that's going to exodus us across the. So and Brother Khalid came over. He said, brother, don't interrupt the minister. Don't play. And the minister told, no, let him play, brother. So I played that much more, brother. Yes, sir. I knew who I was playing to. Yes, sir.
Brother Master, what do you want your legacy to be?
To be a humble servant. And matter of fact, Shaheed, the name, I have several names given to me. One, the first was in Yoruba, was Oladun, which means warrior for the people. And when I was in Ghana, when your dad was there for 1997, when the minister spoke and was a guest to the General Rollins for the 40th anniversary, I did the video, matter of fact, when the minister spoke to me and a group of people. I'm the only one who got that video. And I was given the name by some Ashanti warriors of Kweku Bansu, which means intelligent warrior. Okay. And but I've had a couple of names, and Rasan was my name in LA, and I got that name from a brother who who was a jazz artist who knew Rasan Roland Kirk, jazz musician. But the name that I love the most and I try to live by is Shaheed, which means one who bears witness to truth. And I can never bear witness enough to our divine leader and teacher and guide, brother. I could never, ever. But I have something to bear witness to now. So my legacy is, yes, a witness bearer. Yes, sir.
Praise be to Allah. And I would love to see that video. Hopefully, somebody can put that video up of what took place in Ghana. That would be beautiful.
Oh, I have the video. I have it. When the minister spoke, and the minister spoke to all of the dignitaries. That was when I was there. I looked up on the platform. The minister was there with all the presidents from different countries. I said, "Look at our leader, teachers there." Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Praise be to Allah. Beautiful. Well, I want to thank you, Master Shaheed, for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on the People's Podcast this afternoon to give us some information as well as some inspiration. And you have done just that. I look forward to putting it on YouTube. Please like, share, and subscribe. This great history. Thank everybody for watching the People's Podcast, and may Allah continue to bless you, sir. How can we see and support you with your martial arts?
Well, thanks for asking. I do have a DVD out. It's called Kung Fu Size. And I developed this concept with my sister Flojo, where even before Taibo was a thought. And there was the reason for developing it because I felt back then in the early 80s, as a matter of fact, my sister and I used to do martial arts to music because, it stimulates the rhythm. And so in 1985, Kathy Davis of the IDA, International Dance and Exercise Association, spoke to 15,000 people in DC at a conference that exercise needed to be taken to another level. So I said, wow, we already have something there. So I incorporated the name Kung Fu Size, which you learn self-defense techniques to music and the rhythmic motion. So I came up with that and I worked on it, modified it. She and I did some practice on it in Japan while we were there, in Hawaii, which I have footage of that on my DVD. And so we came up with this concept, Kung Fu Size, and it's been going ever since. So if people want to get a copy, of this DVD. It's a 45-minute DVD. Now, however, when Taboo came about, and this was designed for women per se. So, but the same techniques, since it was designed for women and Taboo came about, and I didn't want to be so redundant, I modified it for children because there was nothing out there for children because we're dealing with obesity and peer pressure and a lot of issues our children are facing and self-low esteem. So I designed it for children, but it's still the same techniques. And so it's Kung Fu Size, and you can order one by going to Kung Fu Size at yahoo.com. It's a 45-minute DVD. It started off with stretching, breathing, and of course, some very effective techniques that are very ancient and yet effective, simple techniques against a chokehold. Of course, we lost brothers and sisters to just simple chokeholds, which we teach how you can turn. If a chokehold here, you turn into the bend and breathe down. Now you can breathe. Number one, don't try to struggle because you lose blood from the carotid artery in a matter of 3 seconds. Or against a chokehold from the neck, you turn and push down and you can breathe and continue to breathe. And so we teach those chokeholds how to break, but to extend breathing and not just going through attacking, which is going to take but a few seconds. You can lose consciousness in your life. So yes, it's Kung Fu Size at yahoo.com.
Praise be to Allah. And could you please let us know what it was like to perform for Barack Obama?
Well, the president at that time, he wasn't there, but he had several events going on, different events going on at his first inauguration, that weekend before his inauguration. So I performed for the nations, all the Caribbean nations came together, and they had it at a big mansion, and it was televised throughout all the Caribbean nations. And so myself, I performed for that event that weekend. And one of the things that I did, which I've done for That's Incredible TV show, which was back in the 80s, but I've taken it from using nunchucks, which I was 2 blindfolds. I was able to use a sword and to cut the apple off of my assistant's head and out of their teeth. And it was my wife, and she had a cucumber in her hand and a honeydew melon in the other hand. And with 4 swipes, I was able to cut them off in half and without cutting her. Yes. So, and yes, sir. And another thing I do is I break boards with 1 finger, which I did there at that event. And some chi demonstration where I have 2 students to push a sword onto my neck until it bends, comes to complete bend. And short, we slice apples and puncture watermelons to show the sharpness of it and stick it in wood to show that using that inner chi demonstration, which is the power that we have.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's the soul in us. As the minister said, that soul is the essence of our being, which he said that at the Million Man March, So we have a soul in us, an essence.
Yes, sir.
We don't even understand what we have and what we're about. Yes, sir, beloved. Yes, sir. We are the God.
And as a fan of Star Wars, one might call it the Force.
Yes, sir. Well, there are different terms for it,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Chinese say chi, Japanese say ki, East Indians say prana, the Philippines say bothra, but it's all the same. That inner power within us, that God power in us, brother. We have it.
Yes, sir. Beautiful. Well, I want to thank you very much, Master Shaheed, for taking time out of your busy schedule. Thank your family for their sacrifice as well. And I look forward to meeting you in person, inshallah.
Oh, inshallah, brother. And I'd like to thank you for this opportunity and your audience for listening, brother, and taking their time out of their busy schedule to hear what little bit I had to say, brother. And thank you so much. And keep doing what you're doing, brother. You are on a very divine, beautiful mission. And we all thank you, brother. And thank you for all the listeners and the community itself as a whole. Thank you.
Praise be to Allah. And assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam, sir.
Thank you all for watching.